I cut all my joinery at the workbench, obviously. But when I need to break down bigger pieces of wood like this, the workbench isn't great. If I want to cross-cut this board, I have to put it at an angle or I'm going to saw into my bench top. And then when I actually start sawing, the sawing motion puts a lot of twist into my torso, and that puts a lot of strain on my lower back. Cross-cutting is much better at a saw bench like this one. My cut line is straight up and down. I'm kneeling on the work, so the wood is directly connected to my body. And when I go to saw, I'm using the big muscles in my upper back and shoulders. So I've got lots more power and no twisting. Some people cross-cut off the end of the workbench like this, and I kind of get it. My cut line is really easy to see and the board is clamped, so it's held really solidly. But when I actually go to cut, the angle is uncomfortably high. It's awkward and I've got no power. And if I have to clamp and unclamp every board for a whole project, that's a huge waste of time. When I cross-cut at the saw bench, my body is the clamp. I'm kneeling on the work, so I can hold it down or let it go in an instant. My left hand is free, and it can guide the saw as I start my cut, but also reach around and control the offcut. So there's no breakout and very little splintering. If cross-cutting at the workbench is bad, ripping is just terrible. Here's my ripping stance, and I've actually got plenty of power this way. It's perfectly comfortable. The problem is the angle of the saw. In my normal ripping stance, the saw is perpendicular to the wood, and I don't have very many teeth inside the cut. That means it's really easy to twist or rock the saw and get off my line. What I want to do is have the saw much more like this, at a shallow angle, where there's a lot of saw plate in the cut. This makes it much easier to stay straight. The only problem is, in order to get this angle, I basically have to kneel down like this. I got this trick from Joshua Klein's new book, Worked, which is great. I totally recommend it, and I will link to it down in the description. Joshua points out that this trick works, but it's not his preferred method. What Joshua really recommends is a saw bench, and I totally agree. The best thing about ripping in this position is that you can easily control the angle of the saw. A shallow angle gives you accuracy and lets you stay on your line, and a steep angle is quick, so you can make fast progress. When I'm halfway done with my rip cut, I can instantly flip the board, come in from the other side, and the two cuts meet in the middle. It's surprisingly easy. If you're ripping a small, thin piece like this, the vise can be a great option because it holds the work tightly and gives it a lot of support. The only problem with ripping this kind of stock in the vise is that every time you rip a couple of inches, you have to stop and move the work up. You're going to be opening and closing the vise a lot during this one cut, and that's a time waster. The saw bench has a ripping notch that supports the work on both sides, and every time you need to move it up, you just lift your knee and slide the piece forward. It's much quicker, and you get the same result. A saw bench looks a lot like a saw horse, but it's shorter and broader, and that changes the way you use it. When you build your saw bench, you're going to tailor it to your exact height, so it should come up to right underneath your kneecap. That way, when you put a piece of board on the bench and go to kneel on it, it doesn't change your stance at all. It's very comfortable. One knee holds the work down, the other knee braces against the edge of the board. That keeps it from rotating, and then you put your hand down like this. This gives you a three-point stance, foot, knee, and hand, so your body is supported by a tripod. It's comfortable, and you're very unlikely to fall over. Also, a well-designed saw bench will do a bunch of other tricks besides just sawing. A good saw bench is also a great way to mortise. So I've got the piece I want to chop a mortise in, plus a second piece to make it a little more comfortable, and I'm just sitting on my work, so it's really easy to shift things around. Chopping a mortise in this position is actually much better than doing it at a tall bench. Your swing can go a lot further, so you've got more power. I'm also much closer to my layout lines, so it's much easier to see what's going on and make sure my chisel stays straight up and down. Mortising this way might look weird, but it's actually quicker and easier than doing it at a tall bench. I even like my saw bench for boring with the brace. If you're drilling holes with this up at the bench, you want to put a little downward pressure on it. And if you're standing up, you might have to use your chin or something. It works, but it's awkward. What I like to do is put the work that I'm going to bore right over the ripping notch so I can't cut through into the bench, then kneel on it. And when you put your bit on the work, you can put as much downward force on it as you want. Boring is faster and easier than it is at the stand-up bench. I am not the only woodworker who likes saw benches. James Wright, Chris Schwartz, and Stumpy Nubs all use and talk about saw benches in their work. But a surprising number of woodworkers, even hand tool woodworkers, don't seem to know about saw benches, and I think that's weird. If you look at period paintings and photographs, you can see saw benches in just about every shop, especially in Britain and America. There was a time when the saw bench was considered absolutely essential. I think it's still pretty essential. I want to bring these back. So I looked through dozens of old books and trade school manuals to find the best saw bench design I could. I sorted through all the different options and I found these two that I think are fantastic. Next week, we are going to build both of them. We're going to have a full build video with all the tips and tricks, but the plans are available right now. We've taken both of these designs and put them into a single set of plans at one low price. So grab the plans now, get your lumber, and get ready for next week's build video. I'd also like to talk about this Baco crosscut saw. I bought 2 of these 3 years ago, and they're still incredibly sharp, which is amazing since they're not even hardpoint saws. These are resharpenable, a lot like vintage saws with a standard saw file. I think these are an incredible value. They come in at about 30 bucks. They've got a decent handle, nice thin saw plate. They're pretty great. I will put a link to these down in the description. Patreon.com/Rex Krueger. My patrons got the saw bench plans this morning. They're going to get the saw bench video early. They're going to get a longer saw bench video with more tips and tricks that I don't release to the whole YouTube audience. They get all of this stuff for $5 a month plus a bunch of other perks. Go on over to patreon.com/Rex Krueger and check out all the perks and rewards for the people who make these videos possible. I will see you next week for the build. I'm super looking forward to it. Thanks for watching.